24/7, create a trailer to welcome them. This happening right here is a channel trailer. The first thing
Hello. Hi. I think there's something going on with the way that I've cropped my camera, so I think I need to fix it. I'll just change to this view. Maybe fix my camera cropping a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Am I gonna move this the right direction? There we go. Hi. Oh no. Yeah, that's not the right direction. Okay. Alright, I haven't streamed in so long, so I'm gonna see if I even know what I'm doing. And Jeff, I thought you were on a PTO watching me stream. Okay, and so here is my goal for today. I guess I should. You're lurking. Well, I'll try to keep it clean. You can watch with your kids, I guess. I lost the database from my local. I have no idea what happened. So I'm just gonna use this because it's a fresh install at this point. But I have like all of my plugins. So I'm gonna work on a plugin called Revision Notes, which is something that I wrote for .org a long time ago. 6 years ago. Oh my god. And yeah, it's I'll show you what it does first. Oh, I bet it doesn't do anything now. Let's see. Let's find out. Yeah, it doesn't do anything now. I don't want to turn on the classic editor. So what it did back in the day was it added a little field where you could enter a revision note, which is like just a little note about the change that you were making. Oh, hang on, let me make sure that I'm using the right mic too. Input, okay. Yeah, so it just added this tiny little field, and it like saves it to as metadata on the revision ID, so that it's tied to the revision itself, and we use it on .org. But more and more things are transitioning to the block editor, and I figured now would be a good time to kind of like talk about how to adapt stuff for the block editor in the first place, because I don't, besides setting up the build, like I actually don't find it that hard. So that's what we're gonna do. So first things first, let me make sure I even know what my keyboard shortcuts are for scene switching here. Okay, so this one's Firefox and this one's code. Got it. So we have Firefox and code, that's all we need. So in my code editor, I have this open. I just renamed the primary branch to trunk, which I happen to like because this is what's going to parallel what's in trunk on .org. But what I don't have is I don't have a develop branch. So I don't know if I should do a develop branch, but I tend to prefer that. So we're going to make a new branch called develop. I'm going to push this with tracking, that's what the -u is, to origin develop. Okay, and then back over here, refresh this, so I have my develop. So I'm going to make that my default branch now. No, I don't want to rename it. Oh, that's kind of weird. So this is to rename it. So it feels like this edit should be tied to here. It's like editing the name. Anyway, switch to another branch. I want to use develop as my default branch. That was a little weird. Okay, so now we're on develop. So what I want to do now is I will do the proper thing, and I will actually do another branch, which is, I'm going to call this feature block editor. Right. Okay, so we'll work in a cute little branch for the block editor. This is a more or less a personal project, so it's kind of like, I don't know if it really matters, but over here in my editor, made a new feature branch. So back over to here. So there is a pull request that somebody very kindly opened almost a year ago. I feel very bad about this, but this was when the pandemic hit, right? So actually a couple weeks before this, March 26, 2020. So a couple weeks before that, they shut down schools here, and my kids had been at home since then up until a couple weeks ago, and they just went back to school, and one of them is only in school actually a couple days a week in person, and then does like at home virtual learning the other few days for now, while they like make sure that reopening school doesn't cause a spike in cases. So yeah, it just completely fell off my radar. I've just been really, really bogged down. And then on top of that, I actually ended up going to part-time for a while during the first part of the pandemic because my kids were at home and everything was just like super in flux, and getting groceries turned into like 4-hour ordeals because of, you know, just like taking measures and staying away from people. So now things are a lot easier because I think people have kind of gotten used to keeping distance and like all that kind of stuff, and they've really like streamlined a lot of process so that it's easier. But at the time, like just running daily tasks took for freaking ever. So yeah, so I was part-timed, and then went back to full-time. But when I went back to full-time, I was doing tech lead for the 5.6 WordPress release. Yeah, this early grocery store trips, man, they were awful. And here, like, I feel like here they handled it really well because they did like a full shutdown. Like everything was closed at like 5 p.m. every day for like months. And what they did during that time was they installed enhanced ventilation in a lot of places, as well as like outdoor sinks and like, yeah, it's like outdoor hand washing stations. So now things are a lot better. But yeah, at that time it was just like, it was insane. So I was running WordPress 5.6 on the tech lead side, did a lot of streaming, and Timothy was here with me looking at application password stuff and all of that. And then after that, it didn't really overlap. Right at the end of WordPress 5.6, I think the day before release, we had a family member die. And so I was just like really not with it. I think I was probably a little bit mean to somebody who like got on my case about something like the day before 5.6 was released. And I was like, listen, I have much more important things to take care of right now, so please don't bother me. But yeah, I rolled right off of that into working on the White House, which is public knowledge now, so I can say that. So yeah, I worked on the team that did the rebuild. So each administration builds its own website with its own content. Something that I learned. So I was on the relaunch of the whitehouse.gov site along with Jeff here and Dung, who is my full-time open source engineer at 10up, and then, you know, along with like Andy Nason and Aaron Jorban and some, you know, and then Wide Eye, who were amazing on the front end and content strategy side of things. So that was super fun, and we built a lot of blocks. So I feel a lot more comfortable working on custom blocks and like block editor integration now. And like, even though I would not consider myself like very good at JavaScript and definitely not very good at React. And I know almost nothing about Redux. I don't find it particularly difficult to work on blocks, even to create them from scratch. Like I find it's like interesting to work on. So yeah, so I'm gonna work on bringing that to this plugin. So all that to say, I ignored this poor person's pull request. A teammate at 10up, Ryan Welcher, ended up looking at it and gave a bunch of feedback, but I don't think that anything came of it. So let's check out. Okay, so they added a Git Ignore. I mean, we're gonna have to do a lot of this stuff too. And probably I'll end up adding like the Github Actions. So like we can go through all of that, see how far I get with streaming today, I guess. Yeah, so there's like a little JavaScript file, min file. So he added JavaScript. He's wrapping all this stuff. So L with select. So yeah, so this is directly referencing the global, whereas like I prefer the import method, which I just find a lot easier to understand and read, and then gives you lots of like hints in the editor, which is nice. So yeah. Oh yeah, here. So using standard WP script, so you use this method, which I prefer. I think it's really nice. So yeah, so we should do that. Why wouldn't I want the oh, I see. Okay. I wonder if I should just like edit this person's pull request. No. So I don't like this. Yeah, see, you do it with compose. I'll talk through all this stuff. Yeah, and I want to do it in actual like ESNX, like JSX stuff. So I don't like to look at this. So adding the package.json. So I will need to give this person credit because I think we're going to end up using some of this, or at the very least, like, you know, ending up with something very similar, so they still deserve credit for doing the work. Okay. Yeah, see. Wow. Okay. So I have to think through a lot of this to get the build process going. So let's start from here. First and foremost, is this correct in the plugin header? I don't remember if you're supposed to use like doc block. Oh my god. These are things that like I hadn't thought about. I think it's okay this way, right? I'm gonna check another plugin. Hang on. This is not gonna show on screen because of the way I have my stream set up now, but either works. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna leave it that way. You want to see a typing test? Maybe if I actually make this work, I can excuse a typing test. Oh look, here's Jeff with the helpful link. What are my header requirements? I'm sure there's so much stuff I had to like fix up in this plugin because it's so old. And you're gonna look at it and be like, what were you thinking? Okay, so they do like recommend this. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's start with fixing this. Here's a fun hack. So you can select a bunch of lines. Are there any typing tests where you have to type JSX correctly the first time? I don't know if there's one. Hang on. I'm going to just let myself. Typing.io. There are a bunch of these like programmer typing tests. Or like training. This does not have React in it. It has jQuery. And then there's speedtyper.dev. We can do one. Let me log in. Continue with GitHub. So what happens with this? Let's just see. Okay, now we're just doing this one on stream. Oh look, this is from React. It's not JSX, but let's see what happens. I'm super curious now. I make so many typos when I'm coding. Yeah, that's pretty chill. I type JSX okay. I actually, maybe this is like a fun thing to show at some point, but I use an alternative keyword layout. It's QWERTY, but it has things laid out in a different way. I can't show it on this camera view, but maybe at the end. All right, that was fun. Let's go back to this. So fun fact about Visual Studio Code, if you select a bunch of lines, you can hit Command-Shift-L, and it will split into each of the lines. And then, oh, is it Command-Shift-L? No, Command-L. Yeah, the sound. So I can talk about my keyword later. What is going on? Why won't it let me do my thing? Oh, because I can't type. Command-Shift-L. And then you can hit like home and it'll go to the beginning of the line. I have to hit it twice because of the line wrap. But yeah, so now I have like a cursor at the beginning of each line, and then I can add my space, asterisk, space. It's much easier than going down and adding it to every line. Okay, so now this is correct. And then I think I'm gonna take out the license in here, and also because of copyright date just inevitably ends up wrong. And then we can add license GPLv2 license URI. And we can link to the new definition. Okay. And I think everything else is correct still. Oh no, this is not my site. But long, it's on HTTPS now. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So we want to, yeah, multi-line edit is the best. I also like Command D for like quick selecting everything of a in a search, like a string. So you can like do a quick find and replace on a file. Okay, so this all seems correct. So we're gonna add this, and we will update plugin header T. Okay, so what is next? Next we need assets is pretty weird, but we'll get into that later because I'm gonna add the GitHub Actions, I think, to this, but first let's make the block work. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to, not in the assets folder, at the top level, add a package.json because we need to be able to build the thing. So this is the part I hate. It's like, what is supposed to be in a package.json? So I'm going to go back to this guy's pull request, and this is what I mean by, oh, what did I do? I'm going to view the file so I can just like copy it, right? This is the part I hate. It's like, I don't even know what's supposed to go in here. Let's make sure that all of the, why is it saying unexpected end of input? I don't know what that means. Okay. What is main for? We don't need that, right? Just delete it. Easy. Okay. So what is the latest version of? Okay, here, this is what I'm talking about. So I've pasted everything in here. Do you like tabs or spaces? Got tabs. I don't know what this main is for. I think I don't need it. I don't understand why it's like debug. Cannot read unexpected end of JSON output. What? Really? It says no problems detected. Okay, whatever. So this is copied out of that person's pull request, so I'm gonna try to give them like co-authored credit on it or something. But now I need to find out, this is the part I don't understand. So how am I supposed to find out what the latest version of WordPress scripts is? And like, how do I keep it up to date? This is on 13.03. Okay. Oh, wow. Has a lot. Okay. There's so much going on in here. Okay, well anyway. So to add this to my package.json, it comes with its own update packages command you can use. Yeah, but like, I mean, that's all fine. I guess maybe I'll deal with that later. So right now, 13.03, this is the part I never remember. npm package JSON version syntax. Okay. Here we go. Dependency version. Do I want to use approximately equivalent or compatible with? I guess I want compatible with. So put compatible with 13.03. Right? I don't know. That's the part it's always like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this. Like, what do you have to actually write this from scratch? I don't freaking know. All right. That seems fine. So let's do an npm install. See if this is good enough. Okay. I feel like that was a lot faster than I expected. It didn't do anything. npm warn invalid version 2.0. I did call it 2.0.0. Is that why? without a version of it. That's brave. I honestly, if I weren't doing this on stream, maybe that's what I would do. But let's try this. npm install. There we go. So I have to use semver. I can't call it 2.0. It has to be 2.0.0. And we are going to call this 2.0 of my plugin release. Okay, it's installing. I'm gonna check my Twitter over on my other screen. I don't know. I want this to like do things correctly. Also because I want to integrate the Github Actions, so it needs to use like the proper build. Oh man. What am I even doing? Wow. So I guess it's going to take a while. I think it installs Webpack, right? What editor font is this? Good question. It's the one that has the cursive. Operator Mono. That's what it's called. I don't remember where I got a copy of it. It may have come with an old subscription and it's just like still working because I'm pretty sure that I don't still pay for it. So I should probably change it. Yeah. Right? We can look it up here. Operator Mono. It's very pretty. Or maybe I have a different version of it. I don't know. So yeah, it's cool because it has like the script for the italic. Yeah. Did you learn cursive first or second? That's what I want to know. I learned it second. I learned print first and then cursive. That's so pretty. You learned it first. Cool. Where'd you go to school? Because here, so I live in Costa Rica now, and my older child is learning cursive first. So he had learned print in the U.S. going to school, and then he learned. And then when we moved here, they were like, no, it's cursive first. Because we moved here and he was still in like kindergarten. German word, right? Kindergarten. So they use cursive to start. I don't think that's crazy. My mother-in-law, obviously like being Costa Rican, of course that's like what she learned too, but she says it's better for them understanding like how letters are connected to make a word, and to understand like letter spacing, and that makes sense to me. So it's kind of cool to learn cursive first. I don't know. All right, I think npm is just about done here. What is it doing though? Okay, I'm gonna have to add a Git Ignore. Oh my god, it's still installing something. Okay, so while it's doing that, let's make a Git Ignore. Okay, and in Git Ignore, we will want, I think this person had also added that in their PR, right? So we're gonna want to ignore anything in node modules. Do you people use like the matching, like do you do that? Because I'm lazy and I just do that. We're gonna leave package lock in there. And what else needs to be ignored? This code directory needs to be ignored. Just in case I end up with the DS store, which I shouldn't, because I think I have that in my global Git Ignore, but okay. You just do node modules like without the slash. I think typically I put the slash so that I remember that it's a so I remember it's a directory. I guess not having it is okay too. Okay, maybe let's just leave it without the slash. So we can leave these. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these for now. I'm not even sure it's working, but we'll just add these. Okay, and then I'm gonna try to give this person credit. So back over here, can I get their email address? Yeah, I do the matchers in like task runners and like rsync and that kind of stuff, but I guess it's not necessary in Git Ignore. Okay, so how do I do this co-authored by? Get co-authored by. True, it's good thinking. Can't have any code problems if there is no code. No Git problems if nothing's in Git. Okay, so co-authored by, I need yeah. Oh my god, really? Oh, an allow list for Git. I feel like that would be infuriating, like, cause like with every new thing, you'd have to make sure that you add it, like twice over. Seems a little wacky. Okay, so so in order to do this, I need this co-authored by trailer. Yeah. Okay. Co-authored by, so then I need their name, and how do we, there's like a way to view a diff, right? Is that how? Yes. Yeah, no, that's totally what would happen, is you'd be like, why isn't this being checked in? Where did my files go? Okay, so I don't know if you know this. So if you go to like a pull request URL, and you append.diff, you'll get a diff file. However, it seems that it generates it with without the headers. So I cannot get, I want patch. Oh, sweet. Okay. Good call. So in patch, it gives you the header. Okay, so I'm going to copy that from his. Yeah. I just want to make sure. I'm going to keep this whole line in my clipboard in case I need it for further commits and give him credit. Okay, so co-authored by this person. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and push this up just because I want to make sure that that worked. So git push origin. I'm never sure like if I have to type all that stuff out. I'm too afraid to make mistakes in Git. Okay, we're gonna push that up. Okay, I love this, that it gives you like a quick link to open a pull request. So let's just make I'm gonna create a draft pull request, and so that way it's just like hanging out there and we can see it. Okay, sweet. Yeah, so if you see here, this was the commit where I added the co-authored by, and so it's showing that he is that he has credit on that commit. It's like I just feel bad if they like lose credit. Okay, so now back over here. The next thing we need to do is add the JavaScript. So I don't know what people's preferences are. Like, do people prefer source? Do they prefer assets? Like, what do people prefer, you know? Using the GUI. I think the GitHub desktop client is actually pretty slick, and I think they've added the co-authored by part if you just do like an at somebody in a commit. But I don't know. I'm just so used to the CLI at this point, which took me a long time to get used to. And it's like integrated in my editor, so I think I've just gotten used to it being in here. I don't think it's being lazy. I think it's just different people have different things that work for them. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Do people have strong opinions about like where things live? In all our tenant projects, I think everything is like in assets. So it'd be new folder, JS. Oh, it assumes that I use source. Kelly to the rescue. Then let's just do that. I feel like that's easier. So let's call it source. And then I want a JS folder in it, right? You can tell me if I'm wrong. New file, revision notes.js. Okay, so now we're in revision notes.js. I can move that around. I guess, well, this probably tells me, right? Run, build. Does this tell me? Entry point should be source index.js. Okay. Oh, here. Default Webpack config. Very cool. Okay. I guess that's fine. That seems okay to me. Like I don't really care. Okay, so let's then delete. Move to trash. And then we're going to make a new file called index.js. And then I feel like, so like if we were doing multiple blocks, then I would probably make another folder called blocks and like put things under them. However, because this is just like a relatively small self-contained thing, I'm going to just put everything in the index.js and not import it from other files, at least for now. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to put it in the plugin post status info. Oh, I didn't show this. So yeah, so I changed it to source index.js. So I'm going to put it in that plugin. So this person did the same thing, right? So they have not the same thing. They put in plugin document setting panel, and all of that. So I think I want it to be in plugin post status info. So let's look this up just so that I have it. Okay, so, oh, that's cool. So why don't we just do that? Why don't we just copy the example and see what happens? Okay, good test of if the example is still working. So I've pasted this over here. I'm gonna format it in a way that I actually like to look at it. I like things spaced out a little more because it's getting built anyways. What difference does it make? Okay, so Seems pretty good to me. So what happens if we do doing npm run build? Is it gonna work? Sweet. Look at that, that's not so hard. Okay, this looks right to me. Okay, and you have like the asset thing. Oh yeah, that's right. This thing is pretty cool. Sweet. So now the next thing we want to do here is we want to also ignore the build directory. Right, so we don't want to include the build in the actual source. We're going to use actions to build and deploy the build. Okay, cool. So let's see what my git diff is right now. Probably nothing, right? WP scripts really is awesome. That's it. When people are like, you know, oh, like getting set up with the build is super hard. It's like, listen, historically, I suck at this part. Like, could not tell you how much I suck at it. However, I find that this really is like not so bad. So yeah. So let's do the part now where we actually include that JavaScript file. This is the part that's probably actually not going to be super fun. Okay, so I have this like dirtbag class instead of like an actual namespace. I guess we could make it work with namespacing. But you know what? We're just gonna make this work the way that it is. Okay, so first of all, I don't need load plugin text domain anymore because of language packs, so we're gonna remove that. Oh my god, I don't even remember writing half of this. Good lord. Ugh, okay. Well, so we're gonna use patch mode. No, I don't want to stage this hunk. My favorite part of Git is when it starts talking about hunks. Yes, I want to stage this one. Oh, that's it. Pre-language pack loading. Okay, so do that as a discrete commit. Okay, so what do I need to do? I really hate that I have it set up this way. What if I changed it to have a minimum PHP version? Anybody want to tell me? Should I leave it this way in this awful, stupid class for whatever reason that I did that? Or should I bump the PHP minimum? I don't know. I think I'll just leave it this way for now, but I may regret that later. I don't know. I just don't want to rewrite it right this second. Okay. So this is adding it to various post types. What is the correct hook that I'm supposed to use? A PHP 8 minimum. I will almost certainly have a fatal if I feel like if I do that. Totally not sitting in the right chair for this. Okay, I don't know what the right hook is for enqueuing scripts anymore. Does anybody want to tell me what it is? Okay, it's enqueue block editor assets, huh? Yeah. All right. We'll just add it here, I think. Add action enqueue block editor assets. Oh, you know what would have been easier is if I just copied. Just call it block editor assets. Okay. So I'll make a new function. Okay, and then in this, I guess I need to I don't need to check if it's there. Like I know it's there, right? So let's start with AP enqueue scripts, revision notes, block editor. I guess I'll just give it like a long ass name. And the source is Git. Wait, how do I get the right directory in a plugin? I have completely forgotten how to write WordPress plugins. WordPress plugin directory. It's like URL. Plugin directory URL. Right? Okay. I don't know if it needs a slash or not. Well, we'll find out. Okay. Oh, and then I have to like include the asset thing, right? Index.asset. Okay, so require how do I do this? Oh my god, I don't remember how to do anything. So I have to include this file, right? Do I have to worry about where it is? No, right? Require build index.asset. Oh look, it auto-completed that for me. Isn't that nice? And then I have to right, because it like just returns an array. So if I make it equal, then it'll do that. So I have dependencies in version. Okay, so now dependencies. This sucks that it doesn't script asset version. Okay. I think that's correct. Right? Let's find out. This is in PHP, so we can just find out. if I edit this post, what's gonna happen? Oh, look at that. It's working. It's here. Post status info slot fill. Ta-da! See? Now we have it working. That's so bad. I just had to remember how to do PHP. Okay, so now we need to make it actually do the thing. And so the thing, well, we can go ahead and commit this in the interim actually. So git status. Yeah. That's everything. Commit. Start the JS part and enqueue it. Hooray! I'm super cool. I know how to do WordPress. Okay, so here's the next thing we need to do. We need to make a little text input thing, right? So what do we have to do that? I'm opening something up in another screen just so that I have it like in front of me so I can copy paste a little bit faster. But it's not that complicated. Post settings. Okay, so what I need is a text area, right? I think a text area is going to be better than just like a simple input. So, oh, here's another thing that makes me maybe a little bit, I'm not super with it, but I prefer to alphabetize these just because it just makes it easier for me to understand command. Okay, so I want to import, this is the part that's super cool. So I just need a text area control, and I need to know what packages comes from. This is where it's like a little weird, but it comes from components. And so this is, I had this hot take where I said that the block editor components were really the Fields API that people have been wanting. And I do sort of believe this. I think when people think of a Fields API, a lot of the times they've thought of like a UI builder for it, right? So when people are like, oh, well, that's what ACF is, and it's like, no, ACF is like, it's a huge project that, you know, very obviously is serving needs that people have, but it's a UI builder for these things. I'm not talking about having a UI builder. I'm talking about just the API underneath. And the block editor has so much of that stuff. And I think people just like don't recognize that. Yeah. Spicy. Super hot take. Fire sauce from Taco Bell. So, but yeah, this is the thing. So like I want a text area. I want to like type some stuff into a text area. So I import, just because it's in JavaScript and not PHP, I guess. And again, I'm not good at JavaScript. So I want to import the text area control from the components package. Relatively straightforward. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is yeah, you see? Let's rename this stuff. So revision notes, render revision notes, field. Right? So we're going to rename this stuff. And then what I want to do here is, this is where JSX comes into play. So this is just text area control. And I totally don't remember what the arguments are for it, but we can look it up, right? Text area control. Oh no, it's even in my history. Look at that. Okay, text area. This is what it looks like. When to use it, when not to use it. This is really nice. It even has G2 components, very cool. Q, John, whatever he goes by, very cool guy. Yeah, somebody asked me about it the other day if it was like an official WordPress thing, and it's like, I feel like as much as people want to believe, and maybe it's convenient to believe that like, you know, Automatic just like has an agenda, it's trying to execute on it. It's still like, it's still very open sourcey, you know, and it's chaotic. I think that's where people get confused, is like most of us are working in jobs where we're like trying to be organized all the time, and open source is just like entirely about going with the chaos. And you know, he is sponsored to do it. I assume that's his job, or like at least a part of his job function at Automatic. But it's very much just like, here's a person who has time and like the drive to go after this thing. Like, I don't have the drive to do that kind of stuff. So I'm very thankful that somebody does. And so here's a person whose employer happens to be so-and-so, and, you know, therefore is sponsored through that employer, I think, to do this, but he has the drive to create this component library and run with it. And so, yeah, it's probably going to make its way into core, but not because it was like, you know, necessarily officially sanctioned or guaranteed or something like that, right? It's more just, hey, we want this thing, we have the time and the resources to support it, so let's do it. Okay, so here's basic usage. Text area control, label help value on change. Okay, so back in my editor, this is where it looks like a fake HTML element. That's what JSX is going to look like. So I have the self-closing tag. So I have a text area control, label equals, ooh, so here's another thing that I need to do. I need to import this from WordPress. I think it's IE18N. Let me make sure that I'm not lying to you. Yeah. So we're gonna do the translations. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna do this correctly. Okay, so here in the IE18N, this is actually very similar to the PHP side. So my label is, let me actually go to my own screenshot because I don't have the classic editor installed. So we'll just grab it out of here. Revision note, optional. I guess I should make sure that it's actually the same strings from the rest of it. So let's grab it out of here. Here, echo revision note. Make sure these are the same string, so hopefully it'll just have the one. And then my text domain is revision notes. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just have to wrap it in the what's it called? The curly braces, so it evaluates. It's like having a PHP tag around it, basically, for PHP people. So help, we have the same thing. Actually, what I want to do here is Command-Shift-D, which will duplicate that line. So help equals, let's grab the same string out of here, enter a brief note about this change. Same thing. Okay, and then value equals. So we will deal with this in just a second. Let's start with this. Okay, so we want to run, you could like set up watch and like hot reload and whatever. I find that more annoying than just running the build myself. So I'm like super clear on the fact that I've run it. Okay, look at that. Just like that, we have the label, the help text, it's all in the right UI. I don't have to create any of that myself, and then I can input it there. See? That's what I mean. It's a fields API. We don't have it hooked up to the actual data yet, but see? It's really not so bad. This plugin will probably have something a little bit weird in it, which is the fact that it stores it on the revision. So if we look in save post in here, so I actually left a comment to myself, but you can see we're using update metadata and not update post meta, and that's so that I can actually store it on the revision ID. That's because it actually runs save post on both the revision itself that's stored to the database and then on the parent, right? So it gets stored as both. It's maybe like a little overly clever, and it's possible that that would break if like WordPress ceased to work that way. But I don't know. It seems fine for now. So yeah, I have no idea if like with integrating it into the block editor, that's the one thing I think is a little bit of a wild card, is whether it's gonna save correctly on the revision. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, this is working. You see how it's really a very minimal amount. How am I going to make this work with the REST API? So when the REST API saves a post, it does run the save post hook, because I have had to do things where like I have a custom attribute on a block that takes like a YouTube URL, and I want to cache the embed response when I save the post. So it does fire save post. So technically, this thing that is hooked on a save post should work if I get rid of this nonce check. I think I have to get rid of that part. But yeah, I think it'll work. We'll find out. I have to make this available in the REST API though, right? So I think that's the next part. So let's at least start retrieving data. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to expose this in the REST API. So this is the name of my post meta. And what I need to do here is, let's see. I'm just gonna pull it out of something else. I have to register meta. Okay. So I have stuff on init already. Okay. I hate that I did this. Why did I do it this way? I hate myself. Fine. Whatever. Let's find out. We'll just register the meta somewhere. Let me actually move this into, well, no. Oh, you know what would be smart? Is if I did that in each of these. Right? So you have add post type support for revision notes. Yeah, let's just do it. Register meta. Oh, it's on the primitive, right? Yeah, it's on the object type. And we don't use subtype. Okay. So then I don't care. We're just gonna do this. So register meta, not meet. Register meta. On post, the name of it, and then some arguments. So type is a string, single is true. What am I doing wrong here? Why is it yelling at me? of this. I can use register post meta with the post type now? I thought it was on the primitive. And then like you have to do it the subtype in the thing. I'm looking at the let's find out. Yeah, you just do the subtype. Or do you? This is a... Yeah, I thought you had to pass an object subtype. I don't know. It's fine. Let's just do it this way. And again, like if it's wrong, then we'll fix it later. Why is it yelling at me about this? What? Unexpected arrow. But why? If I change this to array, will it stop yelling at me? Oh. Because I'm a dummy. Comma. Okay. This is a single. We have to show it in rest. And then I think you can set a default. I think that's the other thing, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now we have that in there. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to actually retrieve this. One problem is like, yeah, on the initial load, you don't want it to actually show. So that's what that person's pull request did. So they have like a first load thing. Yeah. So I'll leave that part out. I think is what's going to happen, but we'll get to that in just a second. Let's start with just making it show. And try saving it and see what happens, because I don't know what's going to happen when I actually try to show it. So the next thing I need to do is I need to actually retrieve the data. And this is the part that's like maybe ever so slightly funny. But here's what we want to do. Let me start by pasting this in. This is already in the render. Oh no. Okay. So I need to do this, I think. No, wait, hang on. I'm feeling a little bit stupid right now. So right, this is the return. This is where I don't understand JavaScript. I don't understand the syntax like at all. I've read about it many times over. Still just like don't understand it. But anyway, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I do need to. So here's what I'm obsessing about here. So I think this has to be this. Is what I think has to happen. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm pasting this, but anyway, so we're gonna do a use select and I'll talk about this. So I'm just gonna retrieve all of the meta. Okay, so now you can see there's a thing called useSelect here. And then we need to actually import that. So that comes from WordPress data. Okay, so let's use select. Do I need use dispatch or can I just straight up use dispatch? Because I think I have just been straight up using dispatch. That's where I don't understand Redux. Okay, so use select. Okay, we have the meta. And so then what we need to do here is we need to do, is it value? Yeah, value equals meta dot revision. I don't need it. Okay. What happens if I don't use it? Because I know like with select, I know that it's not truly like in sync with the editor. Like it doesn't do it with it doesn't like listen basically. But I don't know what happens if I don't use it for dispatch. Okay, so value is meta.revision underscore note, I think. Here's the problem. I don't have a revision note saved on this. Make sure the right registry is used. I see. Okay. I mean, I see. I don't know that I really do. Gonna try. Okay, so we have the value here, and then we need to do an on change. Okay, and then on change. Okay, value arrow functions, which I don't understand. Actually, I'm just gonna copy paste this out of something else. So if you'll forgive me, but again, I'll talk about it. Let's fix the indents. Okay, so on change with the value, we have to dispatch, okay, and set the meta to this. Okay, and then that'll be handled on by the editor. So this also comes from WordPress data. Okay. I think technically that should just work. So let's try it. See what happens. And we'll see what happens when I actually okay. Here is my first revision note. Okay, testing revision notes. I'm gonna hit update. I don't know what's gonna happen. Okay, so here's post settings. If I hard refresh, what happens? Look at that. It's there. It saved it. Now comes a part where we have to actually save it to the revision, I think. But yeah, so you can see this honestly has not been that much work so far, right? So you do have to understand or at least know what to do to get meta. So you select, yeah, just keeps it in sync with like the meta store. So like if you were to change that piece of post meta in a different field or like within a block or something, it would sync back and forth. That's the thing about React and why it's named React, right? It's like it reacts to changes in the stored values. So like if you, like let's say, like back over here. So let's say you had, maybe we could build this at some point, but let's say you had a theme where you wanted to show like the latest revision notes, right? Or something like that, or like the latest revision, you always wanted to store that. You could have that do the same sort of thing in a block, that same like on change, and then it would sync back and forth, which is what's pretty cool. I think that maybe is where you would want use dispatch instead, is like if you have it in both places. That's why, again, understanding Redux would probably go a long way for me. Because like I don't totally understand like where it's getting or not getting these things, when it's saving or not saving. So yeah, so hopefully you can see this is like fairly simple. This is 33 actual lines of code, 34 in the file because I also have a new line. And I space stuff out very aggressively. So with like 30 lines of code, you have a thing that shows a field, gets it from meta, and saves it to meta on that post. And it's in the status and visibility block here, because that's where I want it to be. So, you know, when people are like, oh, doing block stuff is super hard, this is, you know, it's too complicated, we want it all in PHP, we wanted a fields API, and it's like, this is a fields API. I imported the thing. That's me grabbing it from the field API, and here's me using the thing, right? Text area control with these items, right? This is what you would have passed in PHP, right? Like if I were to write this in PHP, it would have been something like, you know, show field text area control, right? Like you would have had that stuff. You would have had text area control, and then like passed a label, like passed all of those arguments. Like it would have been the same thing. And that's when it's like, okay, so just because it's in JavaScript, and like JavaScript, if you're using ESNext and like modern syntax, you're gonna have things like arrow functions, which again, I don't always understand. And like here, when this like arrowed directly into the opening parentheses, I think it just means like you go straight into the return. But you can't do this inside the return, so you have to like know to expand that out. But it feels like it's really not that bad. If I didn't use dispatch, I would run into issues with nested editor instances. That's just in reusable blocks, but also possibly for full site editing. I don't know. We can tackle it when we find out there's a bug. Otherwise, I'm just gonna leave it as is, because I don't remember if I have to do this differently if I use dispatch or dispatch. And I don't want to find out right this second, because what I want to do now is I want to figure out how to actually make it store on the revision. So let me go into phpMyAdmin first without showing my browser, and then I'll switch over. Because, yeah, you cannot see my local database for the White House, even though there's nothing in it. Yeah, if I leave off the curly braces, it just returns. Shortcut for shortcut. I think that's where JavaScript, like modern JavaScript, can be really confusing, is like there's a lot of what our pal Nason would call syntactical sugar. That can be kind of opaque if you're not used to it, and it's really hard to search for it, right? Like how do you search for that? Saying that's where maybe sometimes it gets confusing. But all right, so let's take a look at WP Post Meta. Let's have a revision note. Hey, so oh no, here. Okay, so it is on the post ID of 1. If I look at WP posts, there is a revision, right? So you see here, this is a revision. It should show me post type, right? Where's post type? Yeah, post type revision. So this is, I want to know if this actually works. Oh, okay. So it just sets this weird GUID. Okay, so I do have a revision with an ID of 6, and it doesn't have this on the revision. So I need to figure out on the PHP side how to make it save when it saves a revision. Okay. So this all happens in save post. I probably need to fix something in this other project. Okay, so in Save Post right now, we check for a nonce and the autosave stuff and whether the current user can actually edit the post. Let's do a bad thing first. Let's just remove the nonce verification. I'm just gonna do it for now. Not because I think it's a good idea to keep, but because I'm, like Timothy noted, not really sure how this is gonna work out with the REST API. So what happens if I update it? Refresh. It does not save it on there. Oh, because it's also checking for the post. Okay, how about we just remove all this stuff? Or maybe a better idea. Let me think through this. So where I'm getting this from, I know Save Post fires because I have done it where I'm parsing blocks to get this attribute. How do I know? Yeah, how do I know? Oh, you know what I could do? The other thing I could do is when update post meta runs, we have to look at, I think there's a hook in there. Oh God, okay, wrong, that was wrong. Here's why you can't do that. Because an update post meta, it checks WP is post revision. Mother frick. I can scope that to the meta key. Scope which? Update post meta? Yeah, this is why update post meta sucks, because like checks is post revision. Let me think about this. How does Gutenberg save the revision? Because yeah. Let me think through this. Also, like, how do we do this kind of permission checking in Gutenberg? Okay, so here's what I'm thinking about. So if we detect post revision note, then we go through all this stuff, right? Otherwise, we need to see if it's a revision and then save it on the revision. Or maybe I can just do it all the time. I don't know. Like, sort of vaguely worried about, like, am I gonna create some kind of security problem? Just like, don't do these checks. just after insert post. Right, I can look to the stored meta value of the parent post. What I'm thinking through right now is the whole permission part of it. And which one stores first? Does it update the parent first, or does it update the revision first, or insert the revision? All right, well, let's do this first. I already have this. If it's set and not empty. Empty doesn't care, right? So we can move all this stuff into here. Classic editor handling. Just move everything. We'll just try. Give it a shot. Okay, I'm gonna move everything in here. So just not, if it's not empty. Okay, so this is classic editor handling. And otherwise, whew. This is where I don't have debugging set up. My debugging is like super broken, so I can't, and we can't do like a die where we just dump stuff out because we're in JavaScript. Okay, so we have this. Well, if this is empty, it'll still be set, right? Maybe? This is where I don't remember. Revisions are saved after the post. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do a sort of rude thing here, I think. This really should be scoped to REST API requests, or like coming from the block editor. Maybe we'll look up how to do that in a bit. I'm not going to worry about security just yet. Okay, so else if revision equals get post type of the post. Okay. So now we're in a revision. So same thing, we're gonna have to do this, but we have to set note to something. Get post meta. Does get post meta also do the same thing? It does not, right? Yeah, it just straight up passes the post ID. Okay, so parent equals WP's post revision. Does this accept a post object? Yeah. I don't know, is it possible for a revision not to have a parent? I'm not going to do any sanity checking there. Get post meta, revision note, true. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Revisions being saved after the post is very confusing. Let's leave a comment for that. This relies on the revision being saved after the parent. Very weird. Let's give it a shot. Hard refresh. Here's my third revision note. Okay, no PHP errors, that's good. Okay. So wait, why is it yelling at me? Oh. Okay, so WP's post revision just returns an ID. Okay, let's try that again. Haha, look at that. On number 9, saved it. Super weird. I'm gonna delete this one because it's a fluke. Yeah, look at that. It does work because post number 9 should be that revision. Yep. It saves, we're good. However, this does 0 cap checking. I don't know that it matters though, because it's a little like, yeah, if you're saving a revision, then you just want to get the revision note from the post parent at that point, right? Like, does it really matter? Like, I'm gonna leave it the way that it was for the classic editor because it feels like a little more correct, at least based on that practice. And then when people look at it, they'll understand, yeah, that was the practice. But I don't know. Like, it should work for the classic editor. It just feels a little like, I don't know, like everybody's so used to, with like old school meta boxes, like you have to add the nuts and like all that kind of stuff. Should I maybe at least make sure the current user can edit the post? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's fine. I guess, okay, what I should do is, if not empty note, thanks for following. Yeah, thanks to people for following today. There's a filter for opting in meta keys to be copied to the revision. Oh, sorry, I totally didn't change my editor. Yeah, so I'm adding a not empty check. Really? WordPress meta copy to revision. These are ancient ass things. Anything related to it? No, this is all the old stuff. I don't know what the core functions are for like revisions. You won't be able to see my editor because I don't have it set to this. Or actually, you know what? Interesting. Okay, let me see about changing my VS Codes. Nope, wrong. Oh, here. Okay. So I'm looking at WP post revision data. WP save post revision. Okay, typically used immediately after a post update, as every update is a revision, and the most recent revision always matches the current post. Okay, well, hopefully that'll continue to be true. WP put. There kind of is, but it might just be bad code you wrote. Oh no. There's an action on WP put post revision. WP post revision fields. Yeah, I was just looking at that. Filters a list of fields. Well, that goes from 2014. This plugin's from 2015, so I'm right there with you. I am also crying about things that I thought I was smart in doing. Okay, filters a list of fields. Unsets the protected fields. But here's the thing. So in fields, you can put meta in there, I think. Use that to put your meta. I mean, that seems correct. But did it work for this? I don't think I totally understand how that would work out, because revision data field equals post field. So you would have to set it to like the entire set of meta. And like you could wouldn't you end up I don't know how it would work either. I think this is a problem. So I think post data does accept like meta or metadata or something. Yeah, let's look at WP insert post. Yeah, use meta input. So here's what I'm thinking about. We can use meta input. I think the problem is that here it's going to get everything from, it's getting it from the post, right? And I think when you do get post doesn't have meta input on it. And you cannot further set that yourself because it's doing it's like filtering them in. Right, it's because it's doing an array intersect of the keys on the post. And I don't think get post is going to return meta input. Yeah, I don't think meta input is going to exist on the post object, or in this case the array. So like here in this array intersect, it's going to end up filtered out. I don't think that we can do it in there. That would have been really clever. It would have been really nice. Yeah. I don't know. I've done all kinds of unholy things in WordPress too, so like whatever. What other hooks are in here though? So do action. So there's WP put post revision. That's also a reasonable hook to use. Like we could do that. This looks very private though, the underscore. WP put post revision. I mean, it's the same freaking thing though, because it's going in WP insert post anyway, so it's a little like, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, what do we think? Maybe I can just leave it this way. Can you imagine? Yes, that's very big smooth brain move. Let's change this back to revision notes. All right, I think we're okay. I think, you know, it is technically like I don't need all of this stuff anymore, but I think here we can leave a comment. Technically, this could all be handled using the else case. But let's not scare people into thinking. Oh, well, it's not really scare, but since we already have all the set up, use it. That's really what this is, right? Is oh, well, I have a package. Is that, yeah, no, that stuff is there, so it's a little like, I'm just gonna leave it. Hang on, I have to check something. 0035. Yeah. I don't know, it's working. Okay, so here's what they look like. When you're in revisions, it gives you the note. Yeah, so if you go into the revision view, right? On the revision, it'll show you like, here's my third revision note. I do need this to handle, well, okay, so technically under Save Post, if I just had, like if I took all of that out, we have this. Getting the REST API meta field saving for free. Yes. Yes, technically I do need this part. Well, okay, so so here's a thought. Well, no, I think I like it this way because it's a clear split. So this isn't weird anymore. As specified by core. Yeah, I think I prefer it this way for the classic handling. Let's fix my comment though. Technically, the else case would also handle revisions in classic editor. You know what I'm thinking about now? Is how come that post data is still there for the revision save? Doesn't that seem kind of weird? I guess it persists because it's like in the same PHP runtime, right? So the posters are global to it. I don't know. Let's just leave this as is for now. For the classic editor, yeah, in the classic editor. So yes, I think there's a lag between like when I'm talking and when you actually hear it and then type into chat. I have to get used to that. Okay, so what am I doing on my comments? Block editor, non-nuts handling. Doesn't it feel like there should be some kind of safety measure? Regular post meta is handled by a REST API, but we still have to do the revision storage. But it's coming from the post itself anyway. Okay, so now I've left notes for myself, basically. I mean, my own comments do come in handy. And so yeah, this is, I think, technically working now. See, this is what's cool. It's like, you get your revision note. Yeah, I don't think it could be exploited because it's directly retrieving it from the parent. And so like the only thing that could happen, I think, is like if there was like a bug, right? Like if somebody had something on their site where they're storing revisions in a different way, and then it was just like always saving that revision note when it wasn't really true at that time. Do you know what I mean? So like if somebody like creates revisions using something else and it like copies everything from the post parent, then maybe you could end up with inaccurate revision notes, but it's not actually a security issue. So the biggest potential issue. I do need WP/ for update metadata? Shit. Let's see. doesn't do it. There's no slashing. Or I need the WP slash in the classic editor one, is what you're saying. I have it stripping all tags. Do I really need to slash it? I feel like surely I tested. Well, let's find out. Let me finish. Oh, here. Okay, so get post meta returns unslashed and update metadata expects slashed. Does that mean that I need to also slash this one? Classic editor is okay. Why? Oh, because of posts. God, this one sucks. Okay. So the biggest potential issue is if revisions are being created in other instances, they might end up with duplicate inaccurate revision notes. Post global is already slashed. Okay. So get post meta returns, and then I need to you better be right. Okay. So now we're gonna get into the next part, I think. So let's talk about, let's commit this. Okay. I'm reviewing my diff. Cool. Looks pretty slick. Actually save the note. Oh no, this is like the whole thing. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and push for now, just so that it's there. Okay, so here's the next problem. We need this to like not show anymore after gosh, when should it clear? It should not show anything on the first load, which is something that the pull request did, right? And it should not show anymore. I don't know, after you start typing or after you hit update, right? I think this is the tricky part. It's actually the UX part that's like a little tricky because you no longer have like a full page refresh, which the classic editor does. Because with the classic editor, we just like don't show anything, like there's no value, right? But the problem here is we have to have the value reflects the revision note. So I think, let me actually think about this. I think possibly we don't actually need to retrieve all of the meta because we don't actually need to show it at any point. What I think I need to do is set a custom prepare callback when I register my meta key to always return an empty string. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna run into cases where like people are trying to retrieve it and then like like you in the REST API or something and are expecting it to be there and it's not. I think this is where we're getting into like React-y stuff. I think what we need to do here is we actually need to use state and have it in state instead. I'm very bad at writing this stuff. I'm just gonna like copy paste a bunch of things. So right now we have what are called, we have like props, the attributes. It's like attributes that you would find on a block, for instance, if we were in a block. Those would be props. But there's also state. And state is just like in that moment. It's not like retrieved from anywhere. So I think what we need to do is actually like with the on change and the value, those need to show the state. And so when you initially load the editor, the state would be empty. And then we have to detect the update. I don't know. That's the part of Gutenberg that I don't know. So how do we find, how do we detect that update has run? There must be some listener somewhere. So however we detect that update has run, once update has run and the successful post thing shows, set the state back to empty. Right? I think that's what we need to do. So oh God. Okay, this is the part like I never remember how to do. There is a thing. Hang on, I'm looking for it somewhere else just so that I can featured news. There isn't a clean way to listen for update. Well, that sucks. All right, well, maybe we can figure that out together. Or that'll be one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, this is where Gutenberg kind of, the block editor falls a little bit short. Okay. Attributes. I can use useSelect for isSaving. Okay. Maybe you can help me understand like how to actually write that, because like, again, I don't understand Redux. So I don't know like what the syntax is for all that stuff. Okay, set attributes. Sorry, I'm like searching through something else to find what I am looking for. Oh, interesting. Dispatch edit post when the state value changes. And so like not do that in the on change. I feel like it's like relatively okay. But like, how do I know when to clear the state value again? That's what I don't know. Hi, Ricky Lee. Thank you for following. Okay. I don't yet understand this, but anyway. All right, so here's what we have to do. We are going to, from WordPress element, there's a thing called use state. Yeah, that's the clearing it part that I don't understand. Okay, so we actually don't need this anymore, right? Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, so we don't need to know all the meta anymore. It's just gonna dispatch it to the core editor, but we don't actually need to retrieve it. So const revision note set revision note equals use state. Something like this. What is use previous? This is where like I don't understand these things. Okay, we'll get into that one. Returns the previous value of whatever you passed since part of compose. Yeah, I tried to understand the compose thing. I mean, I do, I guess, but like conceptually I understand it. I think in practice it's very like, I don't know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Okay. Use state. Do I have to? What do I have to pass to use state? Empty, right? Okay, so then my value is revision note, and then on change. Hang on. So I have to actually wrap this because doing more than one thing. Okay, so then on change, I want to set provision note to the value, right? I think that's what I'm doing. What am I supposed to pass to use state? I feel like this is not correct. Maybe it is. I think it's fine. Okay, so let's start with this and see what happens. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna use the state. It's kind of does some magic where like you have like the name of the thing itself and then the thing to update it. And so I think that's what I'm supposed to do. It should work, right? Again, I'm not very good at JavaScript. So now when I load, it's empty. Oh, I see. Okay, and it is telling me that I can update because of post meta. Wow, that's a question. Do you think that modern web frameworks are a poor choice, particularly for free software projects and websites needed by single or few individuals to serve public benefit rather than generating profit? If so, how to do it well and differently? Where is the culture and community for it? I think you'd have to define what you mean by modern web frameworks, because I feel like that question has a premise behind it that I don't have the full context for. Okay. So we're gonna do take 4. Okay, we're gonna update it. It's not gonna clear. However, when I refresh, it should not be there. Great. Okay, JavaScript frameworks, PHP frameworks. I mean, you could call WordPress a framework. So does that make it a poor choice? I don't know. I don't know what the premise of this question is. Okay, so look at this. It still says here is my 3rd revision note. It doesn't say here is my 4th. Here's my revision note for number 4. And if I hit Command Z, it doesn't work. I don't like that. WordPress would be an open source project without a framework. That doesn't really make any sense. I think that everybody has a very different definition of what a framework is. Okay, so this did not get... There weren't any frameworks around when WordPress... I don't know what that means, man. Like, WordPress contains jQuery, it contains TinyMCE, it contains all kinds of things. Like, I don't know, are you talking about specs? Are you talking about frameworks? What makes a framework to you? How much of using something actually makes it a framework? Like, I don't know. I don't think a framework as like a concept is something that is bad. It's about what you do with it and what it means for maintenance of a project. Okay, so sorry, I was not on this view. So here is my 3rd revision note. It did not save the revision note correctly. Wait. Yeah, it did. 11 revision note. Here's a revision note for number 4. Ah. Okay, I had an issue because of the restoring from trash thing. What happens if I hit update? Okay, I think that's just a weird fluke. Yeah, sorry, it's not that, I don't know. People are always like, you're arguing. I mean, maybe I am. But I think that, the way that we use words and what we mean by them is very different. So like, I don't know. It depends on what you mean by a framework, because I think that it doesn't have like a formal definition. So, okay, so this does work. I think there's just like a wonky thing here because of the fact that I accidentally moved it to trash. Like an idiot. Okay, so this works. I have an issue, which is that I can't undo. So like I'm trying to hit Command Z and it's like not undoing anything. So I don't know if that's like a problem. Yeah. Oh, you're the person who hates this theme. I remember that. Yes, it has a giant font. I think it's great. I'm old. I can't see anything. Let's make it clear, and then I'll worry about like why doesn't this particular thing let me undo it. You're asking me questions like I expect to be asked because I'm running for the OSI board. That's the kind of question that I expect from there. And I don't currently have thoughts about it. So let's copy Timothy's code here. I'm just going to dump it in here and then think about whether I need to move it. I think I don't. Okay, so I still have use select here. Is saving post. So where does use previous come from? Is that just like, is that straight up in React? Here. Use previous. So React stores it. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I get very confused. Like, what are the lines between like React and Gutenberg? Okay, so use previous is just a straight up React thing. Okay, so then if we're no longer saving the post, but previously we were, then what I want to do is set revision note to empty. I don't know if I'll be on the board. I'm running to be elected to the Open Source Initiative Board. Yep. I thought it would be, I have to write a statement, so I should probably save it for a statement. But mostly I just, want to learn about things. Is primarily my motivation. Okay, so I think all this is okay. So I just want to set my revision note to nothing after we've saved a post. So how long's it been? Almost 2.5 hours, but I'm messing around quite a bit. Okay. Hard refresh. Ooh. I didn't like that, huh? Console. Use previous is not defined. Where does use previous? Frick. Where do I have to get use previous from? How will open source survive software as a service? Same way it currently does. You host it. Here, we'll just look up use previous Gutenberg. It's in WordPress Compose? Okay. So I added use previous from WordPress Compose. See, it'll yell at me if it's not in there, right? Use effect not defined. Use effect also comes from Compose, I think. it's an element. I think it's an element. This is another part that I think is confusing, is like, where do these things come from? So use effects is an element. Is there a reasonable way to find out where things come from? Oh, I'm gonna have children home soon. It's gonna get real loud. Refresh one more time. There you go. I don't care about the autosave. Here is my 5th revision note that hopefully will clear after I hit update. Take 5. Cadam built its wall. Okay, so far this is sticking. Hit update. Bam. Good job. Now let's make sure it's actually in there. View my revision. Damn, that did not work. So it does have a bug. It is not storing the revision note. Does that mean that it's not actually dispatching it to the editor? So, okay, I just updated it and it's not in there. There was an autosave in the meantime. It is too late. This dispatch? Once is saving is true. But I think that's okay because I mean, this is just clearing the UI technically. Yeah, I'm sure my video cuts out. I live in a country where the internet's not always great. Because this state thing is entirely just the display. So it shouldn't matter. Right? Because I'm still on change in my text area. I'm still dispatching it to meta. Maybe we can inspect it. Okay, so an inspector and components. Meta. Where can I find? Oh, it's not in there? How come? No, that's not what I want. Does it only show? Is it only showing what's in the UI? That's sort of annoying. So I can't search for it? Boring. Okay. Do I have Redux dev tools? No. React dev tools. Hopefully I'm not going to expose anything sensitive. Oh my gosh. All right. I, again, very much do not understand how Redux works. So we're in the Redux tab. Holy moly. Okay. How do I testing? How do I see where it is? Core blocks, core editor. Core edit post. What am I supposed to be looking at? Oh my god, I don't understand this. What? Editor settings, or just these things? Man, I don't know. I don't understand, like, why messing, like, setting the state. So, like, we set the state here. And then we dispatch it. Or maybe this means it's, oh, well, okay. Actually, maybe this is too early. So it's actually clearing the revision note. But wait, but I had this problem before I added this stuff, right? I think. Oh my god, I don't know. I feel like I had this problem before. Because remember I said, like, oh, it's weird because I accidentally trashed it, but that wasn't the actual problem. Let's take this stuff back out and see. Here's another try at my 5th revision. So if I hit update, and I head over to revisions, look at this. It put it on the autosave. And the autosave content is wrong. Or rather, the autosave has like no content. There's something going very wrong. And this didn't save a revision just now. I think there's a bigger issue. So I'm having a much worse issue here. There is something going on where the autosave does have the revision note. See here? And here it did. It had previously... No, it did store the revision. But it's not saving... Is it because there was no revision to store? Here is another try at a 5th revision with content editing. Okay, we'll delete that. Hit update. Open the revision view. And it didn't update that. It updated it on the parent post, but it doesn't have it. It has the old one on the new one. So now it is running in the wrong order. What the hell? But it was working before. Is it not dispatching it? No, it is because it's there. Because it is saving it. So wow. How would this happen? How is this happening? When it saves the revision, it's still getting the old. It's still getting the old message. How is that happening? Yes, you can ask questions. I'm just also working on something. How would that happen? Crap. Oh my god. Okay, let's go back to this. I'm gonna put this stuff back. And then I'm going to stash it. Okay. Try to be, maybe I already had this bug and I just didn't realize it or something. Okay, built. I'm gonna refresh it. Going back to just using the meta, not states. Okay. Check out our revisions. Aha. Okay, so it's already wrong. It's actually already wrong. Can you hear my children? So yes. Okay, so I already have this bug. So it's not actually this. I think the React part is actually, shockingly, the React part is actually working. Okay, so git stash pop. Let's try running the build and checking the data again, and then I think from here then I can go check on the PHP and what's going on there, that it's not running in the right order. Revision note using state pairing when saved. Yes, state. Update. Now it clears. And let's go check the revision view. It is one behind, as expected. Yes. Okay, so this has the same bug. So I think the React part, the editor part is actually okay. So let's commit this and then go try to figure out what's wrong with the PHP. I work on Twitch. I do work on Twitch sometimes, yes, because I can, because I do open work. Okay, so I'm going to commit this. Use state for the revision note display instead. This is so that it doesn't initially load any message instead, and also clears it after save. Okay, again, this is very little code, like 55 lines. All right, so there's something wrong in the PHP. You have to dial up your font size so much? My font size is not dialed up. Does that mean it's too small for you? My Twitch setup is now so that I have hotkeys, so it switches between displaying specific windows. And so these windows are sized so that hopefully they display in like a reasonable way, like on stream for you. That's why sometimes I forget to switch between windows as I'm jumping around because I'm not using OBS itself. OBS supports scene switching when you switch windows, I think, but I don't know, I'm using Streamlabs because I'm used to it. So I just switch between them. And I can also go to like BRB. Okay, so, oh, I added the WP/ thing, right? Is that when it broke? Or has this all, well, let's go see. Maybe it's been broken this whole time. Be way too huge for a full monitor. What does that mean? I have 2 monitors. I mean, you want to see my full monitor? This is my full monitor. So now you're getting Inception. You're seeing my full view. This is what I have up on one of my monitors. I have something else over to my side too. I have like Slack and all kinds of things open on another monitor, but this is my full monitor. So I don't know what you mean by the font would be way too huge. My font's like, it's pretty small. I don't know. Anyway, this is only showing one quadrant of my screen. That's why it looks big to you. If I stretch the code window to the amount, but the font doesn't stretch with the code editor. Like if I make it full size, it's the same font size. Yes, I'm a very fast typer. You can look me up if you want to know how fast I type. I'm everywhere. My handle is usually just Helen. Okay, I don't know. Has this always been saving wrong? Am I running into a problem or it's not? It hasn't saved that yet? Are they not running in the right order? Let's go back to this where I thought that it was working correctly and it might not be. Testing PHP side of revisions. Okay, so it is wrong even with this stuff. So I think it is not actually. How many words per minute can I type in 1 minute? Were you the same person that was bugging me about this before? I type really fast. Depends on what kind of typing. Absolute top max for me is about 200. But it's not practical. It serves no purpose. I don't think at 200 words per minute. I don't know. I think it must have always been wrong, and I was just like not doing it, and just not, I didn't notice in my testing. Yeah. It's been one behind this whole time. So the revision is getting inserted before. Okay. So clearly things are in the wrong order. I'm looking in core now. It gets the post data. It's run immediately after a post update, as every update is a revision. Is it like cached or something? Frick. Wait, but the revision... The revision itself does have the correct post data, so it's just, it's not getting the right post metadata. It's like, why? Oh my god. I feel like I'm running into I actually feel like I'm running into a race condition. Shit. Try not to cuss. Yeah, because save post revision happens. I mean, what if I try it on that hook? So WP put post revision hook. I wonder if that would be like late enough. Let me see. It gives me the revision ID. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try it. So what's the worst that happens? Copy this. Copy this function. It only takes one. Okay, so if this is not empty, I'm gonna bail. Ah. I'm gonna have to test the classic editor too to make sure I'm not messing this up. Okay, let's give this another try. Should not have to reset. No. Still the same problem. What? Does that mean does that mean like in the REST API it hasn't updated it yet at that point? I'm so annoyed. Oh my god. I think I totally am missing the data in the REST API. Like it's, is it one request? I guess I have to do it like in the, there's like an action for after something's been updated in the REST API. I have to use that. No, no one's following me at this point. I'm just chasing this bug. I think yeah, okay, so it sends it over with meta. Okay. So here's the problem. Even though inserting the revision is supposed to happen after the original post is inserted, the revision is getting the previous revision note, which means that it hasn't updated on the post parent yet at the time that this is firing. I don't know if that means that this is running in a different order because it's a REST API, or if core no longer does stuff in that order. So if I change over, I'll have to change this window. Hang on. So I'm looking in core. Okay, it does the WP put post revision. WP save post revision. Okay, so this is supposed to be run immediately after a post update. So let's see where it gets run. This is a revision, a test. What is this? CSS data, okay. Okay, so it runs it in WP upgrade. Revisions of post. This must have been an upgrade routine. Okay. Add action post updated WP save post revision. Okay. So it is firing that. Run a profiler. I assume you mean a debugger. And mine is broken. I don't know what happened. I think it's yeah. And I don't want to sit on stream and try to make it work again. Okay, so it is here. Does it on post updated. So technically, oh, you know what? I think I have to delete this. Okay, one more time. I'll just refresh it for good measure. See, the Gutenberg part did not take that long. Now I'm on the PHP side of things, where because of the way revisions are done, this is already very weird. Testing the other hook for real now. I have to update the content too, or else it doesn't actually store the revision. Nope. Still the same problem. You know what would be really funny is if this was a problem even before and I just didn't realize it. Alright, I'm gonna activate the frickin' classic editor. Let's see if I broke it in the classic editor. Instant editor, revision notes. Here's my first revision. Take one. I think it doesn't even save that. Here's my first real revision. Update. Second revision. No, classic editor works correctly. This is really freaking annoying. I'm going to do something here. Update metadata, post on the revision ID, post. Test, post, content, WP slash Okay, I'm gonna do something kind of wacky here. And I'm going to save an extra piece of post meta with the post content to see if it's like just the meta that's a problem or if like the entirety of the post content is stale somehow. Okay, so I need to turn off the classic editor again. So test post meta. Let's see. Okay, so it does have the correct. Oh, shit. I'm an idiot. Let's do it again. Test post meta, take 2. I was getting it from the actual revision itself. I have to get it from the. Okay, so the post content is correct. It is getting it from the correct parent. So here I was grabbing it, the parent post, saving into test post content. So it does have the correct post content. So it's getting the wrong post meta. It's getting the old post meta. And I don't know why. That means that the post meta has either not updated yet at that point or else it's still cached. So again, probably a race condition. Brother. Let's see, clear post meta cache. Okay, so I'm trying to find out now, how do I clear the what is going on? Oh, this wasn't even showing the correct editor. Sorry. Too much going on. Meta cache. So how do I find out how to clear the meta cache? Because shouldn't it do that? Is it because I'm calling update metadata directly? Okay, so are my batteries running out? I'm only getting it from one ear now. It's kind of weird. Okay, one of my earbuds just went out. All right, anyway, add metadata, update. Yeah, deletes it. Oh my God. Would it really end up? But like, shoot. Okay, so at where was that hook? So it's firing on post updated. Okay. So technically save post is even later. So I like save post better. What if I do something awful like I clean the post cache myself? But look, it's doing update post meta up here. Then it goes through all of this stuff, does a clean post cache. I don't really understand why it does this. Technically, safe post is a little bit better anyway. Let's undo all of this. Put it back. I probably have to give this up in a minute, but the Gutenberg part was not hard. I say that, but then I have this weird issue, which is entirely because I'm reading it from the previous post meta. I feel like if I was doing this on the other one, in the classic editor, I would have had the same problem. Let me switch back. Okay. So I've undone all of that stuff and back to this. Should I like clean the post cache? I wonder if that's like super rude, and I'm gonna. What if I did get metadata directly? I'm gonna try that first. Get metadata. It's subject to the same cache, I think, but let me just make sure that does actually return an ID. Yeah, it totally does. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Trying get metadata. No. Still the same problem. Okay. I'm going to do this awful thing, clean post cache for the parent. Now with, oh, sorry, I didn't show this. So I'm doing a clean post cache on the parent. No. Doesn't help either. What's another piece of post meta that I could look at? Let's just look in here. That would be the smart thing to do. Edit lock would change, right? So let's try saving edit lock. Let's see if that works. 1811. Look at that. That one matches. I get a log to 2. So right now it's, well, I'll see if they're different. Oh, it's not any different. Okay. So maybe that was already the correct value. Okay. What if I try okay, what if I try what can I save this as so that I can see if it actually does it correctly? Okay, trying another meta save. Ooh, okay, yeah. This was a good test. Yeah, the revision metadata is getting saved before the actual post metadata. Damn. I don't know how to figure that out. Okay, I'm gonna push this. Okay, sorry, I didn't show it. So here, this is the ID for the revision, and you can see that this test metadata is empty. And then the test metadata does get saved, but after the fact, because you can see that the ID incremented after. So something is firing in the wrong order. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something about how Gutenberg actually saves the revision if it like fires that first somehow. But yeah, I'm gonna update my pull request. So we can look at the totality of my pull request anyway. So hopefully it'll yeah. I wonder if I should not commit the package. I feel like it doesn't truly need it. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll have another opinion later. Think about it. So we've added some stuff into Git Ignore. There's a package.json, is very small. It just includes this one dependency and adds the build script. I fixed the header, removed that. Then I just enqueue this. Yeah, I'm registering the meta and queuing it. I don't like the order that stuff's in. I'll have to change it. Then I've changed how that's done, and then the updating here including the block editor assets, and then the actual block editor part is, I mean, super duper small. It is super, super small, even with a lot of spacing here and like the runaround to like display it, to like clear it after save. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna leave a comment on here and kind of close the other pull requests. So that's the, well, I guess I can do that on stream too to show what you do. Okay. So on this one, okay, let me edit the description first. So on my pull request, this is another run at editing editor supports using the, what is this slot fill called? Post status of slot fill. And so like this person's PR just had like, yeah. It just has like all this weirdest stuff. It's not weird, it's just like what. Using WP scripts, please. Revision notes are displayed by state. Let me write, here are the current bugs that need resolving. Make a checklist. The revision post meta is being saved before parent post meta, leading to off by one revision notes, blocker, and then cannot undo in the text area. I'm not sure if this is because of state or what's. Not a blocker, but strongly prefer to fix. Displayed by state. It doesn't need to show the previously stored meta and cleared when the save is triggered. When the update is triggered. That need resolving before this isn't a draft either. Okay. And then on this person's PR, okay. Well, whatever, he can keep track of it. So I don't want to make any assumptions about what they're doing. So say hi. Sorry, I'm only just now coming around to this. I'm taking another stab at the block editor integration in some, although yeah, this person totally. Did this even work? I think this didn't work. So I did look at this before. The revision that is being saved for actual parent post meta. So it's, let's see, the previous revision. Not sure if this PR, if this is happening to you in this PR as well. I don't see anything in the commits that accounts for the difference in how post meta is saved. I'm going to close this in favor of the other, although I did give you noting that I did give you authorship credits on a commit that let's copy that and this here. Okay, I'm gonna close this to the comment. Hopefully that was nice enough. Okay, so actually, before I jump off, I want to add the GitHub Actions. I don't love having the package lock in there because it just feels like it's so huge. Oh. Okay. Maybe I should then. Okay, so let's add the GitHub Actions. So to add GitHub Actions, we're gonna add 2 of them. It's pretty quick. So here's the first one. I'll have to add my SVN username and SVN password at some point. But what I need to do is to add a Git Ignore first of all. New file. The reason why I use a Git Ignore, so previously it had this way, and it still supports it, where you add Git attributes, where you use Git attributes, which will make whatever Git archive makes, which therefore anything on, in like the auto created zip on GitHub, they'll match. But this doesn't allow you to deal with built files. So we use Git Ignore, and so I'm going to copy this. Okay, so you want all of these things. Hang on. wordpress.org/plugin/revision notes. I need to see. Wow, I have a 4-star rating. It's what they've been waiting for, but they only wanted to give me 4 stars. It's fine. I've updated this in so long. Oh, this has a readme.txt. We may end up doing something real weird here. That's okay with me. Let me look at the readme. Yeah, I have this stupid space thing. Yeah. This used the bash script to convert it to the .org thing. But maybe I should just add the readme.txt, because then in this readme I don't have to have all this nonsense. You know, like I could actually show the screenshots and stuff. Anyway, I'll have to update screenshots. Sorry, I wasn't showing that. Yeah, in the current readme, what I previously had was this bash script that would like parse it and like convert it a little bit. So I don't know, figure it out. So anyway, I'll add a dist ignore, and then a new directory called .github. Inside of that, a new folder called workflows. And inside of that, a new file called deploy.yml. And then I'm gonna just straight up copy this over from my GitHub. The slug is the same, so I don't need that line. Okay. So I don't want it on. Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna actually copy it from the other example. Okay. So, yeah, npm install, run build, generates the zip, all of that. And it does it on a new release. Okay, and then I want to add the Readme Updater one while I'm at it. So under workflows, we need a new file. Readme asset.yml. Okay, and then I want to do the same thing. And technically, I need to also run the build so that it matches. Okay, so we'll do the build. So okay, and then the next thing I need to do is I need to add a new folder called WordPress-org, which is my preference. This is where all the WordPress.org assets live. So I'm gonna move my screenshots in there. Okay. And actually, I'm gonna delete a directory called assets. Okay. And so now, we look at the dist ignore again. It ignores I like to alphabetize them again so they match what's here. So it ignores .git, which you don't see, but is there. .github, which is here. .wordpress.org, which is here. Node modules will be excluded. Source. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave source because I think that that's a perfectly reasonable thing for people to want to see. So I'm going to leave source, although you could leave it out. You don't need Git-Ignore, you don't need Git-Ignore, you don't need package.log.json, you don't need package.json, and then you don't need the readme file. Okay, and then I have to think about what to do about the readme.txt, and I think that I'm just gonna fork the file so that revision notes has its own proper. Well, maybe not. Maybe this is the time to actually try that bash script thing. So let's give that a shot first. Okay. Maybe. Maybe just adding the readme.txt is better. So I think I'm still thinking through this myself. I don't know if music is still playing. My AirPods died. Okay, let me think about this. I think the music is still running fine. Yeah, so what I'm thinking about is that the readme should probably be different so that it can actually show my screenshots. But maybe now is not the right time to worry about that. Because like on GitHub, it just shows it like this. But like, maybe I don't want to worry about having to maintain that, so I'm just going to add readme.txt. Stable tag. Okay, so let's call everything 2.0. Well, I'll do the bump in a little while. Okay. Oh, brother. Okay, and then requires at least, I think, is now 4.7 because of language packs. So I'm just going to make that change while I move it over. Yeah, so in my Git Ignore, I have everything. I'm adding the readme.txt. Yeah, that's how it works. So check in here. Check the Git status. Git commit. And GitHub Actions for deploying and updating the plugin. This manually adds the readme.txt instead of trying to generate it. For now, we can try that later in a separate PR. Yeah, I don't want to try doing that in this pull request. I think the correct thing to do for now is to like generate the readme.txt, or to manually do it myself, and then later I'll try to auto generate it, or else make the readme.md different. This really like pollutes my PR, just sort of annoying. But that's okay. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do it in this PR. I already pushed it too late. I'll edit this. Probably have done this. Okay, I'm going to take a breather and go hang out with my family. But yeah, so you can see there is a complication, which is technically on the PHP side, but yes, it is related to the block editor, and that something is firing in a different order, and I don't currently know how to deal with that. And it'll probably be extremely obvious once I start actually looking into it, but I'm gonna take a break for now, and yeah, hopefully be able to stream again. Maybe later this week would be nice, is what I'm thinking. I need to look at full site editing, so that'll probably be the subject of my next stream. So anyway, thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time.